So let's move on to quarterback. Better or worse in 2025? Fitz, I'm going to come to you.
It really depends on the receivers.
Are we having a conversation that's just going to be a snake eating its own tail?
That one was too well set up. Yeah, I'm going to go with better. I'm going to go with the better caveat as to Drew has what is ahead of him, which is a potential number 1 draft pick. This is a contract year for him. I think he knows that. I think he knows there's a bunch of improvements that he has to make, and I think he's doing that by not only doing the throwing stuff in the offseason with his guys, but also with his, he's got to develop a rapport, and he's done a pretty good job with Kyron Hudson. Penn is going to be in that mix very soon if he's not on campus already. Haven't even checked on that. But if you looked at the opportunities that he has to diversify what he sees in the defense, it's going to come differently without Tyler Warren. And I think that's the biggest thing. I mean, you look at what he can do running the football with those running backs back there and how much the pressure that's going to take off of him, and then turning it into, well, now that the pressure is off of him, how does that react with an extra safety in the box, where a guy like Pena or Hudson can run a smash fade or something like that. You've got opportunities for him to make plays all over the field, and I think that's really different than what we saw last year when he zoned in on Warren. When he Nate said it in the comments, 5 targets for 0 receptions, absolutely, against Notre Dame, not acceptable. But on 5 targets, that's not exactly a giant body of work. Now they need to be better and get open, obviously. But I think that this group has that ability. We saw a little bit in the spring game. Kyron Hudson found space. He was able to sit down in spots in the zone. And how often did we see that last year? We had guys running the spots last year is what we saw. So, I think that's really what I'm looking at with him. I think we look at the entire room and say, Bo provided something, I know he's, kind of a hot button issue for a lot of Penn State fans, but he provided you something different. He provided a spark at times, and he, ended up winning the Wisconsin game. So you look at the backups, Grunk's talented, Smolik talented. How does that work out into guys that are ready to go in and win a football game? We don't know because we haven't seen them out there. So curious how this entire room shakes out, but I think it is better. And by the way, going back to receiver real quick, I think 1 through 6, undoubtedly better than it was last year, more talented than it was last year. It's just a matter of you can't sit here and tell them or tell everyone that it's going to happen. We didn't do that last year. And now this year we're hearing that we told people that last year. It's not people want it to happen so bad that it's kind of how that all shakes out. So quarterback, yes, better. I think 1 through 6 a receiver, also better. It's just a matter of them getting on the same page. And a lot of that comes down to Drew. I mean, this is the kid gloves came off last year, and now whatever other gloves are off now as well.
I think this is interesting from JC Corrigan in the chat. He says, Perbula versus no reps, speaking about the backup quarterback situation. Color me skeptical that Penn State is better. Nate, I'm going to let you discuss this particular part of the conversation because I feel like I may be a little too extreme here to have a rational conversation about the backup quarterback position and its value in the grand scheme of what we're talking about, which is the national championship conversation. So Nate, what do you think here about, is Penn State's backup quarterback situation maybe not better, but is it dramatically worse than it was last year?
I don't think it matters.
Oh, well, great. Then I don't have to speak. Perfect.
Because, and this has always been the case. Look, yes, Penn State needed Bo Perbula to win a game at Wisconsin, right? You need, if Drew gets hurt, yes. But as you saw, I think in that Oregon game, maybe they all kind of blend together for me at this point, but I think you saw that Bo's effectiveness, right? So he didn't make it to the playoff, but he did play in that Oregon
in the
game.
Championship game, yeah.
Right. Bo's effectiveness against really good defenses became problematic for Penn State.
So can I jump in here? I got the snap count in front of me. He played 20 snaps against West Virginia to open the season, but you go down to the games that were close-ish. 3 snaps against Illinois, 8 against UCLA, which was a closer game than, well, it wasn't a closer game than the score implores, but it was just a weird one.
Was it only
5
3
at
snaps
US.
against Illinois?
What's that?
Was it really only 3 against Illinois?
I mean,
Wow.
PFF has been wrong before. They will be wrong again, but this is what they have down for Illinois. 5 at USC, 5 against Ohio State, 9 against Washington. Of course, the big win over Wisconsin got 36 snaps, but close game at Minnesota, 6 snaps. Big Ten championship game, 5 snaps. So it wasn't this big, I don't want to say conspiracy. It wasn't this big, huge part of the offense that we convinced ourselves that it was. It was successful at times, and other times it straight up derailed them. And I think that is one thing that you look at this year and say, they're not bringing in Grunkmeyer or Smolik to run a package that is significantly different than what the regular offense is. And I think that will help. It gives you a down back, and you can see what you can do with that with the weapons that you have.
It's also a position, in my film study last year, right around the USC game, is when they started giving some of those Wildcat snaps to Tyler Warren. Like, that's also part of the Bo package, was just generally that idea of a Wildcat quarterback under center. Penn State has other options this year. I don't know. I don't think we fully know what the plan is there, but I agree. I think there were times where it was a frustration in the offense to flow, and Bo, through no fault of his own, when he got the opportunity to make a play, he had 5 snaps a game. He wanted to make the best play possible, and usually that was to run the football, because some of his options were to kind of dump the ball off on a triple option. So I think it created a certain amount of pressure. But to Nate's point, and to the larger point here, could Jackson Smolik or Ethan Grunkmeyer get you through the Wisconsin game? I believe they're talented enough to make that happen. I think those guys could win that game. And they'll also operate the offense closer to what Drew operates it at. Bo came in and threw almost exclusively option passes. I think that's an important context of how that game went. Now, the effectiveness of that showed like there's almost an entirely different offense that it could be with a guy like Bo Pribula under center. I guess the biggest perception difference here, guys, is that there is a portion of the Penn State fan base that thinks Penn State is better with Bo Pribula under center. That they would have won a national championship last year if Bo Pribula had been the quarterback. That is a prevailing sentiment for some fans. Nobody has that opinion about Jackson Smolik or Ethan Grunkmeyer this year. There are no fans that think, you know what, that guy that I saw play 1 snap in the SMU game, or the other guy that was a 3-star that I barely have ever heard of before, is going to walk in and be the savior. And I'm not trying to pick on those guys whatsoever. I think they're much better than most people think. But there isn't this widespread perception.